This is very important for us all in this room to realize that consumer protection is basically securing fair trade, and it's for the good of all the stakeholders. And this has been a very exciting last 18 to 20 months, I would say, as technology providers, especially relating to traceability, and more so in particular to pharmaceutical and food industry. And we see this all over. We see it when we buy an apple from a cart vending machine anywhere in any of the metros. We see that the fruits are actually barcoded. We haven't really bothered to see whether it's being utilized. Obviously it's not, but they're already labeled. And this is because of the tremendous emphasis on food safety laws that are already coming in. And you would notice that there is in the background a lot of action happening. And in the next 5 years, it is estimated in an Indian context that 15 to 30% of the products in India, when it comes to food, will actually have traceability. So it's just a step away. The marking is already there. It's just a step away for the retailers and the supply chain people to actually start using it. I represent Sandilyam Automation, and I welcome you to visit our homepage. I wouldn't spend too much time talking about the company. We have been around for a long time. We work with a lot of FMCG companies and also now beginning to work with retailers. Barcode Global is our website. Please do drop in and have a look. These are some of the companies we work with, specifically listed for food and pharmaceutical in this case, and some of the equipment that we offer apart from software and solutions. So this is the big shift that I'm seeing. In the last 15 years, we see that the enabler barcoding, which was considered more of an identification tool, has also become a traceability tool. And this is the big shift. So it's not just a static number anymore. It's not just the identity, but it also lends traceability. And to counter or to support this process, barcode technology itself has also evolved. So starting from just a linear symbology, we have moved through that to a multi-row to a matrix symbology, which carries much more data, and more importantly, variable data, which helps traceability. This is a common sight. You see it in any Ford Figo, for example, when they launched their car, they had this on their newspaper ad, so you can click on it, it takes you to a web link. So barcoding is becoming very, very interactive, and this is because of matrix technology. So you can actually have a real estate building which is advertising for leasing it out or selling it, and you can actually scan it when you're driving past, takes you to their website and gives you all the details. So this is becoming very interactive, and that's basically what it says. It's an URL to, it's the hyperlink from the real world. In a normal scenario, this is what you would find when you walk into a supermarket, the type of barcodes that you use when you walk around, you pick up products, come to the checkout, and the operator would be scanning this. And in a logistics environment, you would find this. So this is the very traditional concept of identifying the product at a retail level and at a warehouse logistics level for traceability. So you find this also now adding on. So you have the element of identification. You also have the element of disseminating information. So when I'm consuming a product or when I'm handling a hazardous chemical, I also need to know what precautions I need to take care there. And like some of the previous speakers were mentioning, nobody has the time, or neither is there space or real estate on the product packaging to disclose everything. So this is an ideal tool. So we as converters in this room, or brand owners or packaging companies, need to keep this in mind, that this is the way out, tried and tested way out, to disseminate information to the customer, not only in terms of identity, traceability, but also disseminating information. So it is, as Mr. Mathur has mentioned, through the GS1 platform, created the element of standardization within traceability. And that's the key element here. So it's universal, standardized, and it's also traceable. And this is an example of how it is working in the food industry. You see this, they're called the data bars. You see a lot of information all concocted so that with one scan, the retailer knows exactly what he has sold, and in case of a recall, knows from which produce, from which manufacturer it has been taken. And these are the enablers that really he is using. The same works for pharmaceuticals. And because of this standardization available, in this last few years and going on to 2017, this is the kind of roadmap that many countries and continents have listed out, including India. And that's why we want to enable this to make traceability possible through barcoding. So at a pharmaceutical level, you have traceability at a primary, at a secondary, and at a shipper level, each doing its independent function because the environment of scanning is going to be different. But as brand owners, we have to recognize that it's important for us to get it on the right way. And that's why it's important to understand these symbologies. It's important to understand what the standards are that govern them. And we have had our challenges. This has been in place now, but then there have been time setbacks. And that's primarily because to actually implement this kind of traceability, especially when it comes to pharmaceutical, is quite a handful. And there are challenges even to the extent of identifying which is the least count of the product that is sold across the counter, and how do I establish traceability there. So there is an opportunity given for extending this so that manufacturers and the technology providers can find the right solutions. If you look at a supply chain environment, typically in a retail environment, this is what it looks like. And even in this situation, the GS1, its own presentations globally announce these kind of chargebacks simply because the technology enablers or barcodes don't work. So it is the responsibility of the printers, the packaging companies and the converters to make sure that their consumers or the brand owners don't end up in this kind of a mess. Very, very large fines, and these are huge figures. Imagine in a pharmaceutical environment, this is going to be multifold. In a retail, you have this kind of a situation. When it comes to life-saving drugs and medicines that we're going to consume, it's going to be that much more imperative. So there are standards in place. It's for us to implement it. There is guidelines given to make sure that the quality of the symbols are verified. And to the extent that the French government, this is from the CIP, which is the French arm of the pharmaceutical industry, which has clearly detailed out what are the potential errors that could happen, because they have had the experience. They were the first movers in this, and therefore they have detailed out these are the errors that you should avoid. And I think that's a pretty easy template for the other countries to follow, which we have seen leading up to 2017. And this is an example of a practical implementation of the GS1 in a pharmaceutical environment in India, where they use the following tools and technology to be able to have readable, sustainable, and accurately scannable barcodes, which are of use to the customer. Because ultimately, the proof of traceability comes when the consumer is able to read it. Imagine a situation when he's got a perfectly made pack, but then he's not able to scan it with his mobile phone. It's of no use. The entire traceability process and the millions of dollars behind it is gone waste. So in conclusion, I would say technology aids traceability. Of course, counterfeiting is never an answer. A barcode could be perfectly well photocopied, but it's a tool that enables traceability to fight counterfeiting. And standards are in place, so we don't have to invent anything here. And being the preferred tool, barcoding is an easy system to implement. It doesn't recall much of the legacy systems. It fits in fine. But the key thing here is that do the barcode scan. And this is a situation we fight day in, day out. As a company, we are involved with retailers primarily for this purpose, because every one of us, when we walk into a supermarket, we see the guys trying to scan a barcode. He's not able to do it. Then he reads the number and does a keyboard entry. You've destroyed it. That 50 paise barcode has destroyed the purpose of the 2 lakh equipment sitting on his POS counter. So the key thing here is, are the barcodes scannable? And the more we engage into scanning, with the advent of the modern retail growing from its present 5%, with FDI coming in, this is going to be a key issue. We have to live up to it, because that's the only reason why barcodes are there, and that's the only reason why traceability is there. Thank you, and I would be happy to take your questions from there on.